It's quantum entanglement communication. But when you have those so many galaxies in the way or universes in the way, the fields between them alter the rate by which it can align. And then so Prime Creator have to create a source opening where every civilized sentient galaxy can hit their own Maherta in order to get codes from the center. So it's all of that was going on at the same time. That's a lot of shit.
It's a lot of shit. You sounded how you kicking it now sound like some of the stuff I read in the that Yahweh book that I got. I'm pull something up a little later. It actually pull something up a little later. But yo, I think you told me you was like even Christ was trying to make the Maherta or something.
Yeah, that was ISIS.
ISIS, yeah.
Yeah, that was so. All of the great mothers are always trying to get in alignment with source. This is with the source of your religions or any spiritual practice. It's all the matriarchal mother science of trying to stay in line with the universal balance, right? That's what that alignment is. So every grand matriarch in every cycle in is looking for that alignment so she can be in line with the source. Because once she's in, because the communications between the grand matriarch of the humans on the planet, who communicates directly with the earth, which is the matriarch that governs the immune system, and we just so happen to be the immune system. So, and also the programmers of the defense system, which is your genome writers. This was all being done by women for eons before men ever stepped foot in the arena. The original gods, the Typhonian gods, are all were feminine. And then later they produced the first masculine, but that was in response to being encountered by the masculine principle leaking from somewhere else. Well, we call it the Anunnaki invasion. Mm-hmm. But it's really just adding the masculine principle to the genome and to the strata of Earth's memory. You have to create what's called a compelling event to resonate far enough into the future. Mm-hmm. Why do we remember Osiris' name and nobody can tell you who Henry Hubert Harris was? They can't tell you one thing they seen Osiris do. And the story is about a 8,000-year-old story, according to modern historians. It's about an 8,000-year-old story. And we still remember Osiris, Set, Ra, Isis in this era before we became common knowledge, before Egyptian information started to hit the mainstream. Our people always knew and understood who Osiris was, even if they didn't say it. Because we never stopped using it. So some kind of way the name Osiris is so locked in our psyches that we use it when we name children Osiris, never having heard anybody talk about nothing Egyptian. It's the ancient history in the DNA being re-expressed in the present time. All this stuff is part of who we are. That's why you can't trick the ancient ones. We did it so many times. We already know what's going on. Mm-hmm. How fast do it take you to size up a room? Do you know you're in hostile territory or not?
Right. I wanna shit. Let me see. I wanna read a little bit of this and ask Rod. Once again, shout out to everybody in the chat. Oh, something I wanted to touch on real quick. Somebody in the chat said, I was wondering this too, because I know Billy Costa did a video about Turkey, the country Turkey. Mm-hmm. And they want to know, are the ant people the same as the ones who lived in the underground cities of Turkey?
No, those are different. Those were a different phenotype.
Okay.
But remember, the Turks are the Ottomans. Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Mm. All right. I'm gonna get to this a little later. I'm gonna get to that a little later. But yo, so wow. I mean, yeah, this whole ant thing. So Rod, the Hopi that we see today, are they the same? Are these the same people who?
No,
So all right. So explain
the
that,
Hopi,
please.
most of the Hopis, if they don't look like more like you, Rich,
Yeah.
even more like you than me, they not original Hopi. The original Hopi was like your facial structure,
Mm.
or their skin color was much darker.
Mm.
And they were the offshoot of the Olmec people.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask. So the Hopi that we hear about in all these prophecies were offshoot of the Olmec people.
But all of the tribes, when we say Olmec, I'm still talking about old Mississippian original bloodlines. When we say Aztec, Inca, Maya, I'm still talking about original bloodlines of the old Mississippians.
Right.
Right? Now, in the north, Mississippi is the bloodline of the land. All people, whether they was in east or west, came from this stock. All of your original tribes came from what's called the Mississippian root stock of Americans. And in South America, it's the Amazonian root stock.
Right.
When they call in the women Amazonians, they talking about the Califia queens, but they using the Amazon so that you won't equate them with the Mississippi. But you had the Amazon North and the Amazon South when they first started referring to the two major rivers of the land. Right? The tribes called it the Mississippi. They wanted to call it the Amazon. They wanted to Latinize it. Remember that we was fighting Spain before the French in the Louisiana territory.
Mm. Mm.
So we took a lot of our stuff and turned it around and used it against us. Exploit our ignorance, and we can't put the stories back together.
So the people we see today, where are they from?
In
The people we see today that say they're descendants of the Hopi, they don't look like us. They look like
right, they are descendants of immigrants. Well, tribes over here were bringing immigrants in, and you can go to Mexico. They have what's called the Chinese Road. We was doing trade with China. In the Hopi culture, they created the ceremonial tribe that you see today to just be somebody that honors the culture into the future.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So these ceremonial, this is why they all got that Asian look. Mm-hmm. Aside from the ones that the Moors brought over here with them as servants and warriors, soldiers, what they was called soldiers of fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the ones that's here now are older than the invasion of Europe, right? But they don't go back into the antiquity as Hopi. They got a limit. They only been here like 1,300 years as Hopi.
Mm-hmm.
But the original Hopi was a shoot off for the old Mississippian tribes. Mm-hmm. You never heard me say that we got a contract with the Asians, and that's why we all carry the name Lee in the South.
Yes, you have said that before. Yeah,
this is part of that. There's more to it, in the sense of like be able to explain it. You have to know a certain amount of already exhumed history. You have to have seen what I'm talking about on the map for it to make sense to you. But a lot of these tribes that we want to beat up on, some of them, they didn't take sides with the colonizers. And so they was entrusted with parts of the culture for us to restudy them at the end. That's what your boarding school was for, to teach them the culture so that they could carry it into the future. But see, they don't have enough sense to know who they is because we ain't know who we was. They erased all our real names. About 90% of the tribal names that we refer to ourselves now are all exonyms. They took them. That's why you have to self-identify. Because if you don't use your rights, you have to identify yourself and can't and fuck what somebody else say.
Mm-hmm. Rod, I'm wondering, like you're so tapped into this information. I'm wondering why you don't get like visits, or why these, you talked about so much on this channel. You don't get like visits or telepathic communication from these beings that you know so much about, being that you're already partially on their resonance field because you know the history of them and you know they exist. You don't get contacted by, beings, right?
I'm not to be fucked with. They don't like me.
Not in a bad way. I'm just saying, like,
No. The good ones don't like me either.
well, yeah,
My history is defender of the earth.
that's your history.
That's why I'm here.
Defender of the earth.
And just because they good beings don't mean they was always coming with good intentions to the earth.
Mm.
Right? People need stuff from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody got to be like, enough is enough. What if another planet came and said, hey, can we get a little bit of y'all water? We say, yeah, and they take it all. And we die of thirst.
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody knew when to draw the line. When to say enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's why you have to conjure certain people up in order to see them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm one of them people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when I'm telling them certain stuff, I have to be able to show what I'm talking about. And that's why I had to read so many books so I can have references so it don't look like I'm just pulling it out, out my toes.
Mm-hmm.
You get to see, I can show you, I ain't the only one know this information.
Mm-hmm.
This person knows, this person knows. I see all of these people, and you start reading their stuff, and then you realize all the stuff I had to read. You be like, God damn. Because I got to tell you who telling us the story. Well, if I come out and tell us how our old tribal ways are, and I can't tell you how we got here, you will never understand me enough for us to be effective. But if I know the old tribal ways, and then I can follow the tribal patterns around the stories that we were traditionally told, right? And then I can say, wait a minute, this ain't our story. So what was this person that's telling the story want me to believe about us if this ain't our story? And he's putting in opinions. Today he would call it cracking propaganda as a skill.
Mm.
But most of the historical records is cliff notes to bullshit.
Mm. Mm.
Like there's no, you don't even remember your whole life, and now you got to keep track of history.
Mm.
Right? So when you're going through this, I found a book today, some books today. I was like, man, why I ain't never heard of this book before? All this stuff I read, I never heard this book. I never heard of this author.
Mm.
Right? And then this thing, and the book was written in 1970. One of them.
Mm.
So I'm thinking like I never heard of this book. And it's a hot commodity that hard to get that costs like $1,000.
Shit.
I'm like, when I see stuff like that, it just allows me to recall that because of you shift timelines, stuff come into the view.
Right.
That identifies the shift in the timeline from where you were to where you're going. And little stuff like what we're discussing now, some people going to start remembering stuff about their own life or even past lives just because we discussed enough to connect the dots for them in places they had blanks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? So imagine having the outline of a picture, but you don't got no details yet.
Mm.
Right? Along comes the artist and sees the detail that goes in the middle of the lines. And so they detail it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Vivid view now. Black and white becomes color.
I want to read something. I want to read something real quick. So this is like this is from this book I show occasionally. This Yahweh book. Rod had me get it. We was talking about Yahweh on the phone one day, and Rod was telling me about this book, The Keys of Enoch. What did it say? The Book of Knowledge. And it says Yahweh in the front. Let me read this to you, Rod. Let me ask for a Rod Hayes breakdown. I need a Rod Hayes breakdown. The key to future luminaries and the key to the divine light is the vehicle of time translation. The vehicle of vehicles is merkaba, which creates, controls, and has the ability to speak through electromagnetic sinks. Merkaba revolves and goes and rises under the heaven or brightness of the next universe, and its course goes over the earth with the light of its rays incessantly into myriads of universes within the ever unfolding eternity. Sounds so beautiful the way he wrote that, right?
Poetry to it. Poetry to the science.
Yeah, very poetic. How does the vehicle speak to us? Through light consciousness forms by means of polarized energy, namely by energizing the cosmic pulsations to pierce the Earth's electromagnetic field. The message it brings speaks of the great infinite way and our role in the many heavens of creation. Thus, in its flight through the many heavens, Merkaba, the light energy vehicle, through rotational circumversion, creates the overlap between various universes of time and space, thereby creating threshold configurations. Consequently, by creating threshold configurations with its power, Merkaba allows one level of intelligence to directly connect with a series of other intelligences. We need a Rod Hayes breakdown. Can you help us understand what the hell that just said, Rod Hayes? Please.
Okay, so when he's talking about the merkaba, he's talking about the light body that is your auric field. The space around you to a certain degree is your energy field. This is your merkaba. But he's talking about it in the sense of metaphysics, where your merkaba can do things your physical body can't do. And to be absorbed into your mind state, into the merkaba, you can communicate with other streams of information. That's why when we look up merkaba, sometimes it show a man in the middle of the merkaba double stack pyramid, and then they'll show a refraction of light coming out, breaking the light up from the prism, right? But it's the other way around. We on the inside of the prism, and the light is breaking up within us instead of coming together. We have to unify the inner light in order to align with the outer light.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we're looking at two particular points in space between a quantum field of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so how long can you hold the vision of the light before you fade into the darkness? Right, so imagine having a flashlight and walking through a dark tunnel. You can follow the light in front of you, but you still can't see nothing behind you because you've already burned that down. It don't exist no more. But when you turn around and put the light on it, you just brought the past back to life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's the analogy of being in that tunnel.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Rod, what can you tell me? We mentioned the Grand Canyon a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about different areas. What can you tell me, Rod? Since we talking about the ant people, about we're talking about the Hopi, so we're talking about the Hopi, Sedona, Arizona. Now, white folks, they talk about Sedona like it is the most spiritual place on the face of the earth. You always hear them talk about Sedona. You always see them got events out there. Shout out to all the white folks and everybody who do the events in Sedona. I heard it be popping out there, never been out there. But what can you tell us about Sedona, Arizona?
Sedona was it's an ancient ritual site from Atlantis era. In the energies of the ley line and the crystals that naturally form there, makes it a place where you can see into like it like thins the veil of reality, and then it gives you certain frequencies to activate your higher energy fields, which is in 3D is euphoric. It's the bliss state. It's easier to attain it in Sedona than it is in a lot of places because of the long term use of the ancients that dwelled there. It's already got the channel open.
Mm.
You just got to get in the wavelength in order to reap the benefits of somebody thousands of years ago did already.
Mm-hmm. Is it are we supposed to right? Because I mean, I just asked you about the Hopi, and you were telling me how the ones we see today aren't the Hopi that came up with this prophecy. Are let's just say, yourself, myself, others of like consciousness in this country. Are we supposed to go to different areas of the world and activate certain grids or certain ley lines or certain places? Like what would happen if Rod Hayes was in Sedona? Then Rod Hayes hit up Mount Shasta. Then Rod Hayes hit up Mexico. Then you know what I'm saying? Like, what would that like? Is that part of our purpose, Rod? You think?
It depends on where you at in the process. Because it's a time where, like, my travels had to be, in this lifetime, had to be primarily east of the Mississippi River,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because of my bloodline birthright territory. I already understood where what we call Amaru land, which was Tupac territory, which stretched from Alaska going into South America on the Pacific coast. And then I had to know anything that come across the Appalachians, I have to address that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when it comes in for like now at the close of the age, if I follow the tribal redemption process and put everything in the public domain, and I gotta identify a certain amount of chiefs to the people, and you can tell they are like some of this stuff. Most of this stuff is done. Right now, we just trying to open the eyes of the last few remaining that's waking up and letting them land on their feet. Because a lot of us landed, like I landed on my neck. Somebody else might have landed on their ass, somebody on their knees. We wanted these next ones, the next final wave, to at least be able to have the opportunity to land on their feet.
Right, right.
Baby's got it now, ain't in trouble.
Yo, Rod. So since we're in such an important time right now, the Great Reset, a lot of people call it, and we got things like, the Harvard scientists, researchers are talking about. They coming up with images of Kanye West. They say this is how Mansa Musa looked. Is it possible when we think of all the greats, these worldly rulers? Let's say Alexander the Great. You mentioned Shaka Zulu, Mansa Musa, all of these Akhenaten. Is it possible all of them are back on Earth right now in another body? Because all of them, like it's like the All-Star, like the All-Star game in the NBA. All the greats, Jordan, Magic, Bird, everybody plays at the same time. Is everybody playing at the same time right now, Rod? All the greats that ever existed.
Most of them, because some of them was the same person more than once, but most of them are all here. But which energy field did they come in their original form, or did they create a new form altogether? But for the most part, the greatest spirits, souls that walk the earth, like Joan of Arc, she got this one chick. She got an Ascension show on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She was Joan of Arc in France back then.
Mm.
And when I seen it, I started laughing because they told us that they put Joan of Arc to death, and I distinctly remember what they did with her.
Mm-hmm.
They switched her out and gave her a ranch to live on with her consort happily ever after.
Mm.
And then they told the public that she died. If it wasn't for the Templars, I wouldn't have remembered.
Mm. I want to give me. We're gonna take a couple of questions from the chat. Give me some questions in the chat for my brother Rod. Hey, shout out to everybody. We got a lot of people in the chat. Shout out to all of y'all. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thank you for everybody who sent the a super chat. Appreciate it. Rod, what's your cash app? Because I know people. I no need to ask. I know it. I know you done told me 1,000 times. Let me see. It's still Sick Ape, right? I don't want to.
Yeah, the same.
Yeah. Just want to share Rod Hayes' cash app with the family real quick. Make sure y'all support my brother for this magnificent research that he does. We're gonna get to this one question right here as you see it on the screen. I'm sure you touched on this before. Are the maps wrong?
Yes, they are actually upside down to begin with, and then they're Eurocentric. That means that they were designed from the perspective of Europe being the center of the world, not just the center of the universe, not just the center of the planet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right.
And it's to disorient you too.
They want to know what y'all think about Asho Speed. Man, he's on a generational run right now on a tour in Africa, which gives it a different perception on it. You know who that is? The young brother who got the he's a streamer. He got the show.
It sounds familiar, but a lot of them I'm not up on. This was one of the more. I think he just popped up.
Yeah. But to the person asking that
question. Yeah, because he was on wrestling. He got speared. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Everywhere, man.
Look, that little kid having the time of his life. When you see somebody like that and he get that kind of public support, in past lives, he always was treated that way. No matter what kind of civilization he was in, his presence made people want to treat him that way. Right. And so when he's born, his energy is already pre-programmed to make people respond to him that way.
I want to get to a question from King Simon. He says, who are the six-fingered people of the Americas because they mention them in the Bible?
My granddaddy now. The Will Hayes bloodline. They was the old Mississippian stock. They averaged between 6'5" and 7'5". But most of them was burly. Yeah. Mississippians too.
I know a lot of Jamaicans who got the six fingers, who said they
same people. You see the six fingers, especially on they normally have it on the right hand. Because it could only come in through the fatherland, so it can only effectively grow on the right side. If they got it on both sides, the motherland and the fatherland, then they might have 6 whole fingers. But if they're only coming in on one side, it'll only express the finger from that one side.
Right.
Most of the time, it's from the fatherland because they have a higher incident of Y chromosomes in reproduction than regular guys because of the dominance. The X chromosome, being it determines the sex of the male, tend to accept theirs faster because it's a stronger genetic stock. So they produce more males for warrior duties.
All right, let's get to this next one. Should the Queen Mother seat reside in New Orleans since that was the capital before Philly?
It's going to be up to the matriarchs to determine when they receive the keys to the community back where they want to put the new capital We do know that because of the transfer of the birthright from Red House to Blue House, it got to move now back across the Mississippi. So it got to be on the new capital had to be inland west of the Mississippi. They got a whole lot of places in that area to draw from to determine where to put their capital. I ain't finna try to guess for them because they gonna be a group of women and they're gonna be going off how they feel, and I can't predict that.
All right, all right. Somebody said, "Is Imhotep here? If so, what would his purpose be this time?"
He taught me how to read tarot card. He lived in Michigan, and he's actually got a Facebook page. Look up John Ramey. But that was my tarot card teacher, and he was here this time to teach and to participate in music.
All right, next question. Is it true that the people on the Titanic were the 13 black noble families that opposed the Federal Reserve System and owned the original land patents?
Um, they was not all from different families. There was more from one or two of those families, but they were the obstacle to the Federal Reserve. And that would now, so let's put this in tribal terms and take it out of the Eurocentric eyes of how we've been taught to look at it. Over here, we had what was called Big Mama's banks, which was all of the Big Mamas would just write the other Big Mama and they would keep in touch through trade. And so all of the Big Mamas was the bank for the families. You might have 25 families out of one Big Mama house. You might have 150 families out of one Big Mama house. Big Mama, everybody come to her house by first name basis. Now, we ain't say members, individuals. We said families. Because we used to, that's how we distributed food to our community, to our people. We farmed our own food. This is why Mississippian culture is so important to the land, because we was the ones feeding everybody in the Mississippi territory. Was growing all of the food for the tribes. And then the colonizers wanted to shut us down so that they could grow cotton and increase our tobacco and cotton output. We was already growing enough for that, for our needs to be met for those products. But they wanted to convert all of the firms into producing a product, which changed how we was able to get our traditional food stuff to the people, right? So the city people would send people to the Big Mama house, and they load up at the barn with they butcher a cow and all that with the uncles out there and whatnot, and load it up and take it on home as needed so that we didn't need mass slaughterhouses. Now, in order to keep base demand, they can't kill enough cows without making them go extinct.
Mm-hmm.
So they started using wild animal meat and other stuff in the food. But the need to grow food like that was a family responsibility. The government and corporate America did not control how we fed our people. And this is why Elijah Muhammad Farrakhan was so big on black farms. Never knowing most of the farms in the country is paid not to farm. That's in order for them to be able to regulate the increased value in food.
Right.
Right? Supply and demand. If they're getting too much supply, right, they might be paid, some people will get paid over 100 years on their family farm not to farm, and they got to keep the equipment current. Yeah. And then they get kickbacks to keep their equipment current because they're getting paid not to farm. Just think about that. Now, When they get tired of their equipment and that they can't use the farm because they getting paid not to farm, but they got to keep their equipment functional, then they can sell their functional equipment to a farmer that's not getting paid to farm. I mean, to not farm, but to actually farm at a discount.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can get all new stuff because they getting paid by the government not to farm.
Mm.
See how it works?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the undergirding of the peasantry with the infrastructure that Martin Luther King was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Controlling the flow of the food, the people at your mercy.
Yeah.
You don't want to be at their mercy, but the structure of society is slowly strangling us and making us more at the mercy of government and business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why can't nobody survive without trying to get to the bag.
Mm.
They're exploiting your survival instinct.
Yo, Rod, I noticed. I was telling the people last year that there's gonna be a big farming movement this year, and I'm gonna introduce the people. I know this black farmer, Rod. Yo, I ate. This nigga has some mustard greens. It tastes like you eating electricity. Like if you eat it, like it's like you almost shocked. You almost get shocked. Bro, the food is amazing. I haven't tasted greens. I'm talking about you ain't got to put nothing fresh out the farm. You eat it. Never tasted nothing like it in my whole life. Brother name is Eugene. I'm gonna introduce him to the family. Probably in March. Probably February. We're gonna do a video soon, but I'm gonna do something with his farm in March. But that farming is very important, Rod. Very, very, very important. I was talking to Blue Pill the other day because Blue Pill getting into the farming, the indoor farming. Most of the money we spend in our life is on food. I'm tired of spending. It's just food, right? It's just constantly.
Well, remember, a lot of people don't know this, but we didn't start eating 3 meals a day until the 70s.
Great point. Yes.
Your average family could only afford at most breakfast and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because they was getting it out the yard, though. most people back then, before 1950, they introduced us to something called middle class.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck is that?
Mm.
That's the ones that's somewhere between the city slicker and the country boy, where they got to live in a certain environment where they can't find no food, and then they can go work in a factory and buy the food.
Mm.
Right. So this is why before that, you people had farms in their yard in the city. In old New York, they used to have all kind of balcony gardens all through New York when it was just before the colonizers took control and started strangling us out, piling us on top of each other. But the women in our communities used to always keep little window gardens and neighborhood gardens going. That was how we kept ourselves alive. It was a survival mechanism. That's why we had so many fruit trees. Everybody knew to plant a fruit tree in the yard. Now, ain't nobody got no fruit trees. Why they let them cut all the fruit trees down? Control the outlet of the fruit. They'll kill the female trees and then make the other trees go bare.
Right.
And it don't even have to be the same species female tree.
Yeah.
It's a major female tree, used to be in every so many feet of each other. And when they start cutting them down, everything in that area, if it wasn't taken over by the other one, they was kept wiping out large plots of land.
Let's get to this next question, Rod. Where is this at? This is a super chat. Shine the artists look like me, Watusi. Could there be a connection to Rod? I don't understand that question. I have no idea. Do you understand that question, Rod?
They're saying that Shine from Belize that was the bad boy artist. That's what they talked about.
Shine, yeah, but
yeah, they're saying that they look like Shine and that he looked Watusi to them.
I don't think Sean look Watusi. No, I don't.
Me either. But
Yeah.
people's perception is how they, is their own. So I can't say to them they don't look like that because that's probably the way that the Watusi person that they see might have looked like Shane.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Let's get to this next question. What's the connection between the Ant people and the Ant-Man series produced by Marvel Studios being Ant-Man, Ant-Man 2, and Ant-Man and the Wasp?
all that's is exploiting your natural. So this is how they exploit our genetic memory. When we have these stories as part of our lore, and then they turn them into animated entertainment with children in mind, and then they can make movies out of them later on as the children become adults, exploiting your genetic memory of people that was here. So they just telling you, they just controlling how you perceive your history, as in the telling you how it connects. Just one thing when you watch those, you gotta always remember the superpower is always exaggerated in the entertainment in order to give it more prominent appeal. Turn it down about 1,000 notches and say, what do that look like? And then you might find yours. Right. But that's just an exaggeration of it. All of those are exaggerations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to know, do you think we are going to have a blackout?
Sorry. Well, the blackouts, it can last. It don't. Blackout could be the internet going out, or like today they had a Verizon blackout, or the phones jacked up for certain. Those are considered blackouts.
Mm-hmm.
The blackout doesn't have to be one continuous thing. It could be a series of things that's causing and interrupting the old patterns of the old ways as they instituting the patterns of the new ways.
Mm-hmm.
Turn the lights off, turn the light back on, and check to see if they work after you change the bulb.
Mm-hmm.
So that's they do check it. Light switch.
Mm-hmm.
The powers that be, the ones in charge, the ones that's running shit from behind shadows, they use and exploit that because they operating on the rhythms. So they tell you when to pay attention, and they use the blackouts to communicate to the others on the other side of the world what move to make next.
Mm-hmm.
Telecommunications. Watch what's going on. It don't mean what they telling you. They telling you what they telling you, but it don't mean to them the same thing it means to you. That's the hard part for people to grasp. That's called double speak. It's a politically trained skill that they learn in a lot of times in the universities. But then you would still have to learn it as you progress through politics. You have to learn it like a foreigner being submerged in a foreign land, and the only way they can survive is to learn the local language.
Mm-hmm.
So they become proficient in the local language. It's the same thing. When you put in that, you learn to speak that language and the hard way. But you go to university, they teach you going to school learning your ABCs type, how to read the language,
Mm-hmm.
how to talk the language. So when they get out there, they so good at telling the story, you gonna believe everything they say until they don't do nothing they said they was gonna do. And then when you find out they did everything they said they was gonna do, but they didn't do none of the shit they said told you they was gonna do for you.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else they did it for.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Let's want to get to this next question. Hi, did the ones that look like us but are not come from another planet? What are they so interested on harming the melanated people of Earth?
It's a power struggle between two foreign agencies. One of them is favorable to us, and another one is hostile. And this is why they gave you a God and a devil concept, so that you could choose sides. The bad guy is always the person not working in your interest. But you take sides with the oppressed because you realize you're oppressed even when you think you're living in the upper middle class and that you're under somebody else's control that you don't want to be under. So when you see them freedom fighters in the movie and you rooting for them, yeah, I don't get all that, yeah, okay, but you ain't finna go out there and do none of the work they gonna do, right? And then as times change, they give us heroes of the past in order to substitute the ones rising up in the presence, in order to keep them overshadowed, so you can't never get to somebody that could do something about the problem.
Yeah. They love propping up the dead, man. They love propping up the dead. They love a dead hero. Love it.
But I go back to our culture though. It's an old proverb that say, "You die two times.
Mm.
Your body die. That's your first death.
Mm-hmm.
Your final death is when your name is spoken for the last time."
Mm-hmm. Mm. All right. How do different cosmic light rays play into reincarnation and identification of self?
The reincarnation is based on the programming of the DNA. You got walk-ins. That's not true reincarnation. That's what you call soul jumping. With a person surrender their life, they can transfer from a person that accidentally lost their life, can take that person's life contract over. And that's why a lot of people be so different after a major trauma event in their life. And you hear people like, yeah, man, he ain't nothing like he used to be. Once that happened to him, he ain't been, because it's a whole different person in that body now. So the cosmic light is the light that reflects on the DNA that generates your personality traits, by how it interacts with the world around you. The cosmic light is the inner light. It's shining in through off the mitochondria the same way they use the solar panels to catch light. So the cosmic light is your inner light coming through the genome. The way that the light is reflected shows your personality. This is where you get your astrology read from, because it's deriving the inner light is matching with the external light by where is the position and the orientation of where the light concentration first emerged, which is telling you where you was born. This is why they want to know, your reader want to know your longitude, latitude, or where you was born.
Mm-hmm.
Right. When they know your longitude, latitude, day and time of birth, they can look at the stars and tell you what you are energetically, but it don't mean it's going to be able to be played out realistically, because you might not know how to control that kind of power.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be turned down to minimum until you can control it. As you practice, it's going to overwhelm you while you're trying to get control. So once you get control of the faculty, you can use it better, because you understand it now.
Rod, they want to know, we're going to do a couple more, about three more, then we're going to get out of here. Does other people's perception affect our aura and how we could use this to our advantage?
It can, but that's based on how your aura is programmed. If you can program your aura with low self-esteem, and it'll absorb others' people's perception to amplify that low self-esteem field. So it'd be like it's getting its own gas for low self-esteem through other people's perception as they tear down your self-esteem. That's how it works. That negative, you using somebody else's perception. Even if your ego is overinflated and you got this delusions of grandeur, as they say, that's your ego being overly fed by people ass kissing you all the time, and they didn't mean it.
All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Give me 1 second, family. I'm trying to. Somebody wants to know: would you come back after this life, or do you want to move on, Rod?
I always tell people in all my past lives I ain't coming back to do this shit no more. But here I am again. I'm not finna go through that no more. I have to first be real with myself. I'm gonna come back as many times as it takes because it's based on a love story.
Damn, that's deep. Oh, now that's poetic. You know shit. Rod, God, you heard him? He said, "I will come back as many times as it takes because it's all based on a love story." Damn, brother. Damn, that was some of the deepest shit I heard in a while, man. Wow, that's love, man. Shit. Damn, brother.
That's why no weapon formed against me shall prosper because I walk in that spirit.
That was deep. I like that one, man. Wow. Let's see. Let's see. All right. What are the connections to the L's and Bays to the American Indian?
Okay. Remember earlier I said remember Turkey with the Ottomans.
Mm-hmm.
The L's, Bays, and Days. The L's were a Middle Eastern priesthood. Right? It was the ancient order of the Elohim. The Days, and Ali's was the ranking system of the Ottoman Empire. You needed a certain amount of days to put a bey in a province. Otherwise, the province is spread out according to how many days under the local bey. The bey is like a general in the military. Report back to the L, who then gives back the instructions. Right? That was the ranking system in the Ottoman Empire. Before the Scottish Rite Freemasons incursion from Europe, staying as exiles, they didn't have no sway over here. It had nothing to do with us. But once Columbus pulled up on the block and set this shit off, now we've been dealing with them in the game of chess over lifetimes until we figure it out. So all of the Moors, can't none of them tell you where. They can't tell you where the flag of the Bays at. They don't even know what you're talking about. Because you got to have a flag of the Bays over your embassy to establish your government right of jurisdiction. That's under Ottoman law. But we don't know no Ottoman law over here. I'm the only idiot that'll go study the Ottoman Empire and try to figure out the structure of their legal system. And then be mad that I did because it got something to do now with us that didn't have nothing to do with us before 1492.
Yeah. All right, last one, Rod. What is the real concept of the Matrix, Rod? Come on, bring us home, Rod, with this one, man.
It's Fortnite.
Fortnite.
You put on some goggles somewhere else.
Yeah.
You logged on to the program and came in at the university Earth exit because you wanted to experience the realm of infinite probability, infinite possibility. Mm-hmm. And you wanted to see what it was like to live in imbalance and balance and trying to find balance in the realm of opposites. You wanted to swing like a pendulum from pillar to post until you can find your center and straighten yourself out. This was called the vicissitudes of life. As you went through your ups and downs, you were reliving all of your past lives simultaneously while you live in your current lives, because everything is now. So the concept of the matrix is the convergence point when you pull off the goggles and say, I felt while I was there. I understand now what I couldn't understand before. It's the crash course learning program. That's why you only get to live 120 years for this segment. Because it's trying to see what you learned in all your past lifetimes put to the test in one lifetime. Where's your survival instinct? How far have you developed over multiple lifetimes? Have you evolved or are you stagnant? So you come into the matrix to test yourself before you go on to become your own star of your own universe. This is just a training program. It's the University Earth.
So, Apple Vision Pro, huh?
Yep. Fortnite.
Fortnite. Damn.
Look,
Man.
epigenetics. If you study epigenetics, you realize that you're not really here. Your consciousness is being projected into your cells' membranes. Those are many brains. A brain is a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if your membranes ain't working, you can't receive the energy that's coming in order to convert it into the you.
Mm.
Your consciousness comes in a wave. You just download it. Your mitochondria is powering your computer database. And you can only get it from your mama. That means that you need her permission to exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you looking at the matrix, you just looking at a crash course learning pro repairs and to help reprogram the genome.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's different stuff different tribes did with the placenta.
Right.
Some of them kept a catalog to treat the ailments of everything from old age, because they used to be able to use parts of your own birth template, placenta, mixed with certain herbs, and it was like you don't age. It reverses. It was like a youth hormone in your system, right? Then you have other tribes that bury you. But then the local foods that grow up is reading the placenta's markers and is knowing what nutrients provides best for this.
Steve.
And then it'll start to grow the vegetables denser in that nutrient, and it might even produce a whole new strain of vegetable, hybridizing with a flower or something, in order to be able to meet the nutritional needs of that human organ in the ground, or the fecal matter for that much.
Yeah, I've heard about yeah.
It's the earth learning your genome and how to produce for you what you can be most optimum. So that's what the homeopathy is. Homeopathy is different from modern medicine because it's not have nothing to do with giving you a pill. It's about putting your body in homeostasis. It's a state of balance. From that state of balance, all of your health, you don't hardly have as many health issues. That's why our grandmama and them used to be smoking cigarettes and eating pork till they was 108.
Yeah, I'm telling you, right?
Right, they started smoking at 5 years old. They ain't never had a cancer, a cough, or nothing related to no smoking until these people started spraying the tobacco. Right? So we knew how to harmonize and synchronize with the earth. Using what we naturally do in order to influence what we produce on the fat of the land. Right? All of our cultures, inner city and country cultures, is based around the structures that was established at what we call Big Mama House.
Right.
Where it was an old lady that had raised so many generations of kids, and they keep coming back every cycle. What they call them holidays now. but they own specific dates because it's exploiting our genetic memory. When they call it pagan, that means it comes from Pangea, right? When they call it heathen, that means it came from the wilderness. And the connotation is that it's some kind of way inherently wicked or evil, when nothing can be further from the truth. Voodoo and hoodoo is to teach you how to harmonize with the energies of the earth, and when people don't want to harmonize with the energies of the earth, you can use the harmony to disrupt their balance. They call it casting spells. This is why if you see a real person that do conjure work for somebody, they do all kind of spells because they got to keep the shit in balance. So you can pay them to do whatever, and if they look and they see that there's an imbalance and that need to be done, they will execute that spell for you. But they can't do it until it's asked to them. So I mean, they can't just up and do it on their own. They have to do a request.
Right.
As a priest. You might know all of the answers, but you can't answer them until you get a question. That's it. That's the priests.
Yeah.
And so they go back to the oracles because they was exploiting the oracles. You know, the oracles was the ones that would read the fabric and they could correct errors in the universe on the spot. It was like Wolverine's automatic healing program. They had to cut the women off of that link. I just made a post when he was calling me. I was writing the last few words of the post. It was a sister. She was explaining, and I was writing a post about what she was explaining. About how this called the Magdalene frequency.
Magdalene, wow. Frequency, wow.
Yeah. But it's actually it's also called the Delphi frequency too, and the Sybil frequency. It's the hive mind people being called to clean up the hive in the mental space. They learn how to see certain codes in order to see where the error at, and they don't know what they're looking at now because they've been trained to think that they're crazy if they see it, and take this pill to try to fix it. Right. So the ones that just waking up now,
apparatus and the cosmological timeline that also corresponds with our genetic format. So we finna break it down tonight. We finna crack some codes. So everybody in the chat, welcome back to Elder, Rod Hayes. So everybody in the chat, put the rice bowls and put those apes in the chat. Yeah, we got a lot to discuss tonight. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Where you want to start at? You got all these geomagnetic energies coming to the planet. You got Elon Musk talking about the rabbit hole and how the rabbit is out the hat. You got all the stuff that's taking place with the penny that's out of circulation. There's a lot of shit going on. So where we finna start at tonight? You know what I'm saying?
Well, the first thing we got to make mention of is the internet was like out early in the morning in multiple places. People would report the internet outages.
Facts. Yep.
When they do stuff like that, that's a tester to see what the reaction gonna be, right? And they judge by the flow of the algorithm what the reaction gonna be.
Okay.
Right. When I did a Young Elder the other day, we was talking about the green aura that was around the earth for that returning love energy, right? Then the earth was vibrating at the heart chakra. When we got done with that class, the next day it was violet, crown chakra.
Yep.
Right? So we hit the nail on the head because when you go from the heart chakra straight to the crown chakra, that's what you call the heart link to the heavens.
Right.
So then we got the sun got a big old butterfly symbol in it, looked like a reverse Batman symbol.
Yep.
Right? Butterfly is the symbol for transformation. So they're telling us that there's a transformation in progress based off the recent solar activity. Remember, we was getting blasted by solar storms last week, and shooting resin been off the chain. And this is why we seeing these color shifts in the Aurora Borealis. If I can pronounce it correctly, I always butcher it. But the lights, the northern lights, was being seen in southern states in the United States, which is rare. Which means it's a large mass coronal interference in the Van Allen belt, right? And it's the gamma rays that turn it green, right? And then it's the ultra, I think it's called ultra gamma rays that goes into your purples and reds, right? But we talking now, we not root chakra, we heart chakra, crown chakra. So we got a lot of stuff going on